In today's class, we're going to talk about Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault. When we say Azure Key Vault, it's more or less like a super secure vault in the cloud. You know, we have some vaults in Nigeria, whereby when we say vault, is where you can store storage, you can store backup, you can store your backup files. So a vault means that it is very secured. If we're talking about a physical vault now, even fire or anything cannot affect it. That's why it's a vault. So we have similar service in the cloud called Azure Key Vault. So Azure Key Vault is like a super secure vault in the cloud where you can store secrets. So example of secret is password. Some of us, we store our passwords on Notepad. We store it on our phone, which is not best practice. But I'm not saying that after this class, everybody should go and start creating Key Vault. But before I start deploying Key Vault in Microsoft Azure, I just want us to understand what a Key Vault is. Let's use this scenario. You keep your house key. How many of us keep our house key under our carpet? If you are keeping your house key under your carpet when you are going out, it is not safe because somebody can just go there and take it and get into your house. So in real life, you don't leave your keys lying around. I'm right, because keys are meant to be kept securely. So in terms of Azure now, you can, instead of you to save your password on your notepad, just like somebody keeping his house key under their foot mat in front of their door. So Microsoft is telling you, you can use Azure Key Vault to save your password so that anytime any application you have that need access to that password, you can just use some URLs to gain access to the password from your Key Vault. That's just an example of Key Vault. So today we are going to be creating a Key Vault in Azure. So basically, a Key Vault is used for storing certificates, it's used for storing passwords, it's used for storing secrets. So for some of us that will be going into CI/CD, like maybe DevOps, we are going to understand secret management and how important it is in CI/CD pipelines. So first thing first, to create any resource in Microsoft Azure, you need to sign into Azure Portal, which I've already done. Can anybody confirm if you can see my screen? Can you see my screen here?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, you can see your screen.
Yes, I
Okay,
can
so
see it.
yeah. So today we'll be creating Azure Key Vault. So what I'll just do is that I'm already signed into the Azure portal. I'll just search for Key Vault, which is this. So we can see here from the name Key Vault. So you can use it to store keys. So here I already have two Key Vaults here. I have KV, Emmanuel, OODs, and I have one password. So Key Vault is used to store passwords. So instead of me to be storing my password in my notepad and all, you can just store your password here. So this training is fundamental. I'm trying to make it basic so that we'll understand everything we need to know about Microsoft Azure fundamentals. So if you want to create a new Key Vault, first thing first, on Microsoft Azure portal, you search for Key Vault. Then once you search for it, you wait for the first option, then you click on it. Once you click on it, then you click on create so that you can create a new Key Vault. So we'll just wait for the creation page to load. Now the creation page have load. So now as it is, you need to select a resource group. Like I always say, if you are creating a resource in Microsoft Azure, resource group is very important. It helps you group your resources on a container for easy access and for identification. So we'll select YAF.CLOUD Computing RG, which is the resource group we have been using since we started this class. The name we are going to give this key, which name are we going to give it now? So we can just say, let's say YAF Key Vault Test. So let's take, for instance, now in YAF, we are developing an application and the application needs some secrets or some password. So the best thing to do for that application to securely access secret and password is to store them on a Key Vault. So for our location, we can leave East US, and for the pricing tier, we can leave it as standard. But if we collapse it, we can see other pricing tiers like premium. Premium is always very expensive, but it has better features that include support for HSM backed keys. So that's just the advantage you get when you use premium, but for this lab scenario, we'll just stick to standard. So in standard now, one thing I always like us to do, if we are creating any resource, is good we always read the options here. So the recovery options now is saying that soft delete protection will automatically be enabled on this key vault. These features allow you to recover or permanently delete a key vault and secret for the duration of retention period. This protection applies to key vault and secrets stored within the key vault. So basically, what this is trying to tell you is that automatically soft delete protection will automatically be enabled on this key vault. What does soft delete means? For a delete to be soft, it means that if you delete a file, it will go to a recycle bin. It will not be permanently deleted. That is a soft delete. But when we talk about hard delete, if you say hard delete now, it means that once you delete a file, you are deleting it permanently. So basically now, in this key vault now, because soft delete is enabled, if you delete any key, you can always recover it back depending on the days you specify in this part. So if I say 90 days, that means if I delete any key after 90 days, Otilo, the key is gone. Days to retain deleted keys is 90 days. That means after 90 days, the key is what? Is gone. Then now, purge protection. What does purge protection do? Purge protection allow key vault and object to be purged during retention period. So during retention period, if you disable this, that means the keys will be purged. Why if you enable purge protection, that means you're enforcing a mandatory retention period for deleted vault and vault objects. So it's best practice you enforce it. So you need to enforce it. So, but they are giving us a clause here. Once you enable, this option cannot be disabled. So there are some settings that once you specify, after you have created the key vault, you can't come back again and reverse it. So that is why if you are creating things like this, maybe you are specifying 90 days and you are not sure. There are some people that can even specify 360 days as when they want their keys to be retained. But we can see from here now, you must specify between 7 to 90 days. You can't go more than 90. So in exam, you can be asked, what is the minimum days that you can retain deleted vault? So the maximum day you can, the minimum is you can't go more than 90. You can't go more than 90. So if the question is asked in exam like that, let's take note that 90 days is the highest that your key vault can be stored in Azure. So we'll just go there, specify 90. So we have already enabled port protection, but let's just disable it. Let's just disable it. We can always enable it later. The only thing is that once we enable it, we can't disable it. But if we disable it later, we can always enable it. That is why if you are creating resources in Microsoft Azure, you need to pay attention to every step, all the details. So here now we can even see the definition of Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is a cloud service used to manage keys, secrets, and certificates. When we say keys, we have encryption keys. When we say secret, example of secret is like your password. Your password is a secret. Then certificates. So the advantage of storing your certificate in Key Vault is that you can do automatic renewal. So sometimes the certificate you are using for some organization use for their website, it can even expire. Nobody will know. There was a time livescore.com, their certificates expired. When I went to livescore.com, I was getting this site is not secured. When you go to any site and you see that the site is not secured, it means that the certificate has expired. So for you to confirm from portal.azure.com now, if you click on this key, you will see that the connection is secured. But if there's no certificate, it means that the connection will not be secured. So that's just for certificate. Then Key Vault eliminate the need for developers to store security information in their code. You know that if you are storing security information in your code, it's very risky. Somebody can go to your website and try to extract the code from your website. I know if a person do that, it means that the person can also extract the secrets that you have in those code, whereby maybe you are storing passwords on your code, which is not best practice. But with Key Vault, developers don't need to store security information in their code. So it allows you to centralize the storage of your application secret, which greatly reduce the chance that secret may be leaked. Key Vault also allows you to securely store secrets and keys backed by hardware security modules or HSM HSM. So the HSM used are Federal Information Processing Standard FIPS. So this FIPS now offers 140 to 2 level validation. In addition, Key Vault provide logs of all access and usage attempts of your secret. So you have complete audit trail for compliance. So Key Vault, the use of Key Vault cannot be overemphasized. Developers now, you are building your application. You want your application to talk to some APIs using some secret values. So those secret values, if you store them on your code, it means that anybody that can extract that code using any tool, the person automatically have access to the secrets that you have stored in that code. So best practice, use Azure Key Vault to store secrets for your application. So there is a diagram I have here. Let me look for the diagram. I think I have something like that here. So if you look at this diagram here now, we can see here, these are developers. So developers now, this is the key vault here. So they can store their key vault here. Anytime they need it, all they just need is the URL for the keys. Because if you store any keys on key vault, you have URLs. So once the developers have those URLs for the key, automatically it saves them stress of typing the key manually on their code. So let's continue with the creation of Azure Key Vault. So now that we are done with the basic, one thing I want us to notice is if you are creating any resource in Microsoft Azure, you always have basic. Then after basic, you now have nest. In your basic, you always have subscription, you have resource group, you have the name you are going to name the resource, and you have the region, the pricing tier, as the case may be. So that's just for Vault. So let's go next to access configuration. So we can see access configuration now. So when you configure this for configure data plane access, so to access key vault in data plane, you can configure it. Here now we have the permission model. The first permission model here we have is Azure role-based access control, and it's recommended. What it means is that if you use Azure role-based access control, it means that any administrator in your organization that will have access to this key must have a role that will grant him or her access to the key. It could be key vault administrator. It could be key vault reader. It could be key vault contributor. But basically, the role-based access control give specific permissions using job title or functions. In our some of our subsequent class, we are going to talk about role-based access control. We are going to talk about it, how we can manage access using role-based access control. When we get there, we are going to appreciate this particular class. So for resource access now, you can specify resource access. You can say, okay, for you want Azure virtual machines to be able to access this key vault. You can say you want to use it for Azure resource management, template deployment, depending on what you want as the case may be. So if you are creating this key vault for virtual machine deployments, then you have to specify this. If you are creating it to use it for template deployment, maybe for instance, you have already created a template that you want to use to, just like those of us that are into graphics designs. Sometimes you already have a template that you use. All you just need to do is just remove the picture and put it there. So in Azure also, we have template like that, whereby if you want to create a resource, you can just go and edit that template to fit into what you want at that particular time. But you are not doing everything from scratch. Just like if you're a graphic designer now and you are creating an image or you are creating a design from a template, you don't start from scratch. You just make some slight changes. So also, if you are creating a resource in Azure from a template, you don't start from scratch. You can just make some little changes or adjustments to some of the variables that you need. Here now, we are going to leave this access. We are not going to specify any of the resource access, but let's just note that for permission model, it's good you use resource role-based access control, which is recommended by Microsoft. So just go next. So for networking now, you can enable public access. So public access now in a modern workplace might not be the best, because if you enable public access, you are increasing your attack surface. As you are increasing your attack surface, because when you say public access, it means that everybody from the public internet is going to have access to this key vault, which is will make you more stronger in terms of your security planning. But if you uncheck this, that means you have to either use a selected network or you configure access using a private endpoint. So private endpoints can be used for private connections to this key vault using Azure Backbone. So, but in this case, we'll just enable public access because it's actually a lab environment. But if it's not a lab environment, it's either I disable public access or I say selected network. In our subsequent class, we talked about virtual network. So a virtual network is just like your local network, but a virtual network now is a network that you can't see that exists in the cloud. So just like a normal network is in our environment that enables communication from one computer to another computer, enables you to communicate. Let me use our mobile phone as an example. If you don't have SIM card in your phone, you won't have network and you won't be able to communicate with anybody. So any resource in Azure that don't have network, it means that the resource doesn't have a SIM card and it will not be able to communicate with any other resource in Microsoft Azure. That's just it. So for you to use virtual network now, it means that the only person that can access this key vault has to be on that virtual network. If the person is not on that virtual network, the person will not be able to access the key vault. So if I say selected network now, I will need to select the network that I want. It's either I'm adding an existing virtual network or I'm adding a new virtual network. So depending as the case may be. But in this example, I'm just going to say all network, because if we are saying selected network now, it means that we need to have an architecture diagram in place so that we are going to have virtual machines that is going to be on this network so that if I want to have access to this key vault, I'll just log into that virtual machine. It should just be like a jump server that can give me access to the key vault. But in this case, we'll just leave it as all networks and click on next. Let's see the next settings. So the next settings now brings us to tags. So tags are name value pairs that you can use to categorize your files. Let me use an example of tag. If you go to a supermarket now, we have tags everywhere. Like if you go to Boku supermarket now, Boku is almost popular, Boku and Jendo. Once you get there, they have where they place bread. You know that this place is bread that is there. So what tags helps you do in Azure? It helps you categorize your resources so that if you want to see virtual machines, you just click on the tag for virtual machines, you see all your virtual machines. If you want to see storage account, you click on the tags for storage account, you see all your storage account. That's just what tag do. So we are not going to configure any tag. So we'll just go next, then we'll click on review and create. So once we click on review and create, we'll wait for the validation to complete. Once the validation completes, we'll just create. So I'm going to do a recap. So a key vault now. What is a key vault? A key vault is like a super secure vault in the cloud where you can store your secrets like password and certificate so that your app can use them without you exposing them. A developer now that is building a application that is exposing the password in the code of the application, it means that any other developer can just maybe go to the website and use some of those their tools to extract the HTML and the CSS of the application. And once the person gets it, automatically the person have access to the key, which is not best practice. So let's just wait for the deployment to complete. Like the example I gave, we have our house. In our house, we have our key. There are some people that they keep their key under their foot mat in front of their door. That is not best practice. It's not good because if you keep your key under your foot mat, it's as if you are exposing your key to everybody. Somebody can just go there, carry the key and open your door. So it's best practice you keep your key in a secured place. So in Azure now, Microsoft is telling you that instead of you to just expose your certificate and your certificate and your secret out there, why not use a key vault so that your applications that need those secret and those keys, they can just access it easily over Azure Backbone. So here now that our deployment is complete, we'll just go to resources. Pa, 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 pa. So our resources is here. So this is our overview. This is the overview page. Like from the overview page, you can see get started. You can just click on how to add configuration, how to enable login. So you can turn on recovery options. You can do a lot of things. So we will come to activity logs. So normally activity logs gives you an insight of what is happening in the resource. So Key Vault is a resource. So activity log, if for instance now, I'm not the only one that have access to this key vault. Maybe we're like 5 that usually work on it. So what I can do is that I can just, if maybe there is a recent change and I'm not sure of the person that made that change. So what I would just do is that I would just come here, I will check activity log. Maybe I ask Joy. Joy say no, it's not me. Oh." I ask Eberechi. Eberechi say no, I'm not the one that worked on that. I ask the other person, Hannah. Hannah say no, me. I didn't hear deal. In the same thing. They are all saying they are not the one. Once you come to activity log, you will see everything that happened in that resource. All the changes anybody made, you will see it here. So if we come to access control and I am now. So this is identity access management, like we were specifying the other time. If maybe for instance, Victor is in my organization and I want Victor to be able to access this key vault, I need to come here and give Victor a role so that he will be able to access this key vault. If I don't give him a role, there's no way Victor will be able to access this key vault. So for me to give somebody a role that I want to work on this key vault, I'll just click on add, then click on add role assignments. So once I click on add role assignment, it's going to specify the job functions. So we'll just wait for the job functions. After it loads now, we discover that we have a lot of functions that we can specify. We can see key vault contributor. What does a key vault contributor do? It lets you manage keys but not access them. You can see a contributor can manage key but cannot access but not access to them. You can only view, but you cannot access them. Then we have a Key Vault certificate user. So read certificate content only work for Key Vault that uses. So we can see that role-based access control is very good because maybe for instance now I employ somebody. Your work is just to be viewing our certificates and our secrets, but I don't want you to be able to do anything on them. Just view, just monitor. Then I'll just give the person a Key Vault contributor. But the main person that I want to be accessing the key vault, you can just give the person key vault administrator. Once you give the person key vault administrator, it means that the person is an administrator, the person can do anything. You know, all these are job functions. In advanced country, there are people that they are key vault administrator, they are Azure AI administrator, they are key vault crypto officer. That's what they do. It's only in Nigeria that everybody will be doing everything. They want you to be doing everything. But in abroad, all these are job functions. As simple as this. I was in a meeting the other time. Somebody said he knows one person that is working in a foreign company, and the only thing the person do is to reset password. That is his work. Anytime people forget their password, they'll just call. She's a password manager, resetting password for people, and she's earning well. She's doing well. So basically, all these are roles that you can have in Azure. So I'll just click on Key Vault Administrator. Then I'll select Next. Then here now, I need to select the person that I want to give that permission to. If I click on select member here, remember, I'm assigning it to users, group, or service principal. So I can only select a user, a group, or a service principal. So from here now, I can select anybody I want to select. I can select Peter. I can select Oyimafu. I can select God's power. I can select Abraham. Had it been Victor was in my organization, I can just select Victor from here. If Victor log into Azure Portal, then Victor will be able to manage this key vault. That's the only thing Victor will be able to do because that's the function I gave him. But in this case, I'll just select myself. Let me select myself and give myself the permission. Then I'll just click on next. Then I'll now click on review and assign. So basically, I'm giving myself a key vault administrator to this key vault. So I'm giving myself a permission on the vault so that I can be able to access it and do changes. So the next thing here is tags. So from tags now, like we make mention the other time, you can use it to categorize your resources. Just like in a supermarket, we have different areas. This place we know is for groceries. This place is for bread. This place is for shoes. This place is for suits. For those of us that like suits very well, like we can't take that from the security department because they always wear suit to church every Sunday and the pastors. So you know that this is where you can see suits. So That's just in that case for tags. So it's used to categorize resources. So for diagnose and solve problem, let's take for instance, you are having any problem with this Azure Key Vault. You can come here and check for different things that could cause the problem. Then from there, you can just solve it. If there's no solution here, you can ask the Azure community. Then once you ask them, they will be able to provide answers and give you solutions to what you're asking. So for access policy now, you can define access policy, but access policy is not available. So resource virtualizer is more or less like it just gives you the virtual representation of the resource. That's just what resource virtualizer is. Then if we come to events now, event is more or less like it tells you the current status of everything that is happening in the environment. But here now we need to enable it. So, and enabling events here is two things. So you can either use a logic app or Azure Functions. Last week, Chidubem did justice to Azure Functions. You can use Azure Functions in such a way that anytime there is, maybe for instance, let me use example, maybe Agbola. I can say anytime anybody deletes something, that should be, there should be a trigger for any delete so that it will log an event here. And once I see that event, I will know that, Hannah have deleted something, no, or Glory. I will automatically know that these two persons have done something like this. So that is how you can use Azure Functions. So all these things are more or less like for automation, because it's not every time you have time to go and be checking activity logs, to go and be checking all these things to know who does what and who does the other one. So that is one advantage of Azure Functions and Logic app in that regard. So if we collapse objects now, from object, we can see keys, certificate, and secret. So a key vault now, these are the objects or things you can store in a key vault. So in a key vault, you can store keys if you are doing cloud deployment, because by God's grace, I know some of us are going to be into full cloud deployment. You are going to become cloud engineer. If you are working with a DevOps engineer, or you are working with a site reliability engineer, or a solution architect, so you have to be familiar with creating all these things, because they can give you keys that you'll be storing on the key vault. You will be providing them the URLs to access those keys. So now that we have been able to do that, let's add a secret. Let's add a secret. So here now we have secrets. We have keys. So if we want to add a key, we can click on key. Once we click on key, it will load. We'll wait for it to load. We'll see how we can add a key to our key vault. But the key you can add here is not your house key. This I just use house key as an example, but is a like if you want to maybe if you want to enable authentication to maybe an application, you it might request for some keys. So that's where we have these keys here. So for instance, now if you want to add a key, you can click on generate or import so that you can import the key from where it is. So your key now can be your, let's say you want to import your public key. You can give the key a name. If I collapse this, you can see the several options you can use. So for the options of bringing a key to Azure Key Vault, you can either import, you can restore, or you can generate. So when we say generate, it means that I'm generating a new key. I want to create a new key right now. Or if I click on import now, you'll see that the settings will change. It will ask me to go and specify the file where the key is. That's if I already have an existing key. So sometimes an organization may already have their key. So they can say, okay, Victor, you are now the person that will be managing our keys in our organization. Help us upload all these keys to Azure. So because they already have it existing, you just import it to Azure Key Vault. So you can click on this icon here. Once you click on this icon, you can now specify the key. That's if you have any. But me here, I don't have any key here that I want to add. So because I don't have it, I'll just click on close. But I'm just giving us an example of how we can import a key in case you already have a key. A key now is more or less like in terms of certificates, you have public key, you have private key. So if you want to, the use case of a key is Maybe for instance, now you want to SSH to a Linux VM. If you want to SSH to a Linux VM, you can use password and you can use SSH keys. So those keys now, if you store it on your system, it's not good though, because God forbid, if an hacker have access to your system, automatically the person have access to that key. But if you store it on your Key Vault, anytime you want to log into your Ubuntu VM, all you just need is the URL. Once you just put the URL to those keys, it connects you and you can log in. So that's just an advantage of keys. So here now, since we don't have any key we want to import, I'll just click on let me generate. So if you click on restore backup, so what does restore backup means? Restore backup is more or less like you already have a backup before of your keys. Then you want to restore from the backup you have. So I don't have any backup. But if I didn't have a backup of a key that I have before, I can just restore from backup. But in this case, I'll just say generate so that we'll just understand. So I'm going to give my key here, YAF media key. So I'm calling it YAF media key. So the key type, you can use ROSA or EC, depending. So for key size, most times this key size is what most people use, but it's not best practice. You can use this key size, but depending on your application. So basically, I know somebody will say I should explain what all these things means. So all these things now are for certificates and for keys. So if you are using 2048, it means that if you are using 4096, your password needs to be of a particular maximum length. But you are using 2048, your password may not be of a high length. So 4096 is okay. It's still nice. So for activation, you can specify an activation date. If you specify an activation date, it will tell you what is the date that you want it to be activated. So I'll just uncheck activation date. Then if I say expiration date, you can specify the time that it will expire. So these are just things. So if you want to enable it, you enable it. Then confidential key options. You can see, okay, do you want the key to be exportable? If you want it to be exportable, you check it. If you don't want it to be exportable, you leave it there. So here now, we don't have options to enable exportability, because if you enable exportability, it means somebody can export it. Then if you enable immutability, it means it cannot change. Just like Papa always tells us, God's words are immutable. God's word doesn't change. If God said this is what he's going to do, he's going to do it. So if you enable immutability, now it means that there won't be any changes that anybody can make here. Even if there's any change, it will be like in form of version, but you will always have the previous version of the latest change that you have. So we click on create. So let's see we are creating our key. So we can see here now that we have YAF key. So YAF key has been created. So this is how you can create a key in your key vault. So if I open YAF key now, we are going to see the key. So we can see the key here. So let's take for instance now, this is the current version. If I click on rotating policy, I can set rotating policy in such a way that at a particular time, the key should expire and it should rotate. An example of rotate is more or less like, maybe for instance, you have MTN 5G or MTN router, and you give some people access to your router. Maybe they just tell you, I want to sub. Please give me access to your internet. Then you now notice that the person refused to disconnect from your internet. He's just enjoying your data because it's your neighbor. At that case, you can just go and change your Wi-Fi password. You know that once you change your Wi-Fi password, automatically it will ask the person to relog in. Then the person will lose access. That is an example of rotation. So rotation is good. You can say, okay, I want my keys to be rotating every one week, every two weeks, so that, and once it's rotating, remember, this key is connecting to your application via URLs. So once it's rotating, it automatically updates in your application. So if somebody have access to the previous key, just like those people that have access to your Wi-Fi, if you change the password, they won't be able to have access to it. So that's just an example of rotation. So we can just, if we enable it now, then we'll be able to do some rotations. So here now, if I enable it, I can say rotation option. If I collapse it, automatically renew at given time after creation. So all these are things that you would do in a real life scenario, because in a real life scenario, your keys need to be rotating because that's the security. If your keys is not rotating, then there's no security. It's just like somebody using the same password for 10 years or 1 year. 1 year, there's how you have somebody that is studying you. The person will even know your password within 1 year. If I'm friends to Victor, Victor is my roommate. If I stay with Victor for 1 year, there's no way I won't know Victor's password. I will know his password because we are friends. Mistakenly, we tell me. But if Victor is changing his password every month, every 2 months, there's no way I will know. If I know his password January and February, he change it again. March, I will say, Victor, how far now? What if your password? I try login, it no work. Victor will tell me that I don't change it now. Then he tell me that one. You now change it again. Before you know, I'll be tired. I will say, I beg, carry your phone. I don't need access to your phone again because I cannot be asking you for password. It's the same thing. When you retreat your keys in your configuration, you are frustrating the oppressors. The oppressors we are talking here are the bad actors. Those are the hackers. People that want to hack, get information, want to see what they are not supposed to see, have access to secrets that is not their own because they need it for a bad purpose. So if you are rotating it, it means that you are not giving chance to those bad actors. That's just the meaning. But in this case, it's just a lab. I'm going to be deleting these resources at the end of this class. So we don't need to add a rotation policy. So we can go back. Even in this key level, you can create access control. You can even delegate access to who you want to have access to the key itself. So security is something that as a cloud engineer, you cannot run from. Because if you're a cloud engineer, you must know how to secure your cloud resources. That's just the truth. You must know. But it's good you know the cloud first before you even know how to secure it. Because if you don't know how the environment looks like, how will you be able to secure it? Maybe I call Victor now. I say, Victor, eh, I want you to help me secure my Azure environment. Victor will say, where will I start from? Because he's just starting. He doesn't know anything in Azure. He's just learning. So in that case, if you know things about Azure, you maybe for instance now they even call you, went for an interview, and they're asking you, what can we use to store secrets? And you tell them Key Vault. They will not say, Key Vault. What is the security in Key Vault? You can tell them, there's security in Key Vault because you can set key rotation so that as the key is rotating, even if somebody have access to the old key, because of the rotation, the person will lose access. That's just an example that you can talk about. But you need to know the cloud first before you can even know how to secure it. So now we have created a key. I want us to go back so that we can create a secret. So let's see how to create secret. So I'll come back to keys. Under object, don't forget, that is where you can add a key. Then if I come to secret now, you can create secret. Just like we have generate, just like we have in the other one, you can type your secret manually. So most times you can give it a name. Let me say YAF, let me call it YAF security key. YAF security key. So I'm calling my key YAF security key. So the secret now is the value. This value now, you type it here. The value now, if you say this is the value now, you just type it. Then that's the value. Then you put the content type. So the content type now is optional, but you can put it. So you can say this content type is for YAF, is for youth alive, youth alive security, youth alive security team. They are the ones that have this key. So as it is now, and this key now is an example. Maybe for instance now, you want to enter the security strong room where all their CCTV camera is. On a normal day, everybody is not supposed to have access to that strong room where the CCTV camera is because there you can monitor everything. So there can be a key somewhere that you guys have saved in such a way that instead of you to be giving people the password to that key, like, okay, the password is Victor Oyimafu, blah, 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 or Hannah Menete, or Glory Inenna, or Agbula Emmanuel, that's the password. You instead of you to be giving people that password, you can just give them the URL to the password. Having the URL doesn't mean you have the, so that's just the way it is. So I'm just talking, giving an illustration or an example. So you can create the secret. So once you create it, you have created it. So now we have created a secret. So most times you see an options to save things on your laptop. My brother, don't try to, don't save your password on your browser. It is not best practice. Your friend can come to your house and say, give me your laptop. The person will just go to your browsers and access all your passwords. God forbid, oh, evil will not happen to us in Jesus' name. So we have to be very careful. So now we have created a secret. Then now certificate. We can see the way certificate is. Most website that is secured have certificate, just like portal.azure.com. If I click on this padlock sign here, it means this padlock, what it means is that the connection is secured. If I click on this arrow here, from here now, you can see this. Shey, it looks like this. Certificate. This is a certificate. If I click on the certificate now, we are going to see some details of the certificate. You can see the public key. So this is the public key to this certificate. This is the certificate fingerprint. So this public key, anybody can have access to it because it is a public key. But the private key, you can never have access to it. You can never. Even if you are the baddest hacker in this world, you can never have access to that key. So if you come to details, you can see some details in the certificate. You can see the certificate serial number. This is the serial number. You can see that even the serial number, it is not, it is hard coded. So for you to have access to this secure number, you need to you need to copy this number now to an encoder that you can use to decode the, the serial number. So you can see when the certificate will expire. This when the certificate was created. This is when the certificate will expire. This certificate now that Azure Portal is using will expire May 15, 2026, 6:06:54 p.m. So any website you see that is secured always have a certificate. So you can take your time to check any website you see. You can just try to check the certificate and see. You can even see you can see a lot of things. Those things that we're asking when we wanted to create a key. I want us to see them. PKC, extended key usage, www. Certificate authority key, certificate policy. So basically later you can watch this video. You can always watch this video to learn because that is how we learn. Even me that you see here, I'm still learning. I still watch videos too. It's not as if maybe anybody is an island. Nobody is an island in this world. The day you stop learning, that's the day you stop growing. So you must learn. And that's just the truth. Everybody is a learner. I'm a learner too. Like every one of us on this call. So I'll just leave this certificate page. So that is how to see. That's an example of a certificate. Then here now, Adibin, I have a certificate. I can click on generate. So if you click on generate now, you will see the options that you get. So you can generate and you can import. So this import now means that I already have a certificate that I want to use. So in Azure Key Vault, you can generate. So if you want to generate, we have two options. We have self-signed certificate. So what does self-signed certificate is? Self-signed certificate is a certificate that you are signing, like that one is signed by your local certificate authority, or is signed by maybe it's not self-signed certificate is just a certificate that is not signed by public certificate authority like DigiSat and GoDaddy. So those are certificate authority that you can sign your certificate. So those are what do we call it again? Third-party certificate authority. That's how we name those ones. So your certificates can be self-signed. It can be certificate issued by an integrated CA or integrated by a non-integrated. When we say integrated CA, it means that the CA is integrated in your tenant or in your organization. A non-integrated CA is a CA that is not in your organization. So if you click on non-integrated CA, you are going to put the subject name. So the subject name can be lfcww.org or YAF.ww.org or YAF Media www.org, depending as the case may be. So for DNS name, you can specify so that you can add more DNS name. You can specify the validity period. Like this Azure certificate now we saw here. We saw when the certificate is going to expire. So you can see the validity period. So the validity period now of this certificate is, it was created 2025, is 1 year. This certificate was created May 2025, and it's expiring May 15, 2026. That means it's 1 year. You can see that even Microsoft, their certificate expires 1 year. So that at least after 1 year, it will renew. But you see some organization, their own is expiring 5 years, 10 years. Why? It's too much now. It's too much. So those are just the things we need to take cognizance of. So I'll just close this guy. So now that's to generate a new certificate. So we can come here, give the certificate a name. Let me say, which name will I give it? Let me give it Hannah Ayodeji. Hannah Ayodeji. So that's the name of this certificate. You see, it's accepted it. So depending on the name you want to give it, but you see all these options that you see red. I must specify a value for it. If I don't specify a value for it, it will not create. So domain name now, let me say yaf.com. Yaf.com. So you see, because I use comma, it's giving me error. .com. So yaf.com now, did he accept it? The subject, you must specify cn equal to. Okay. So errors are your friend, like I always say. Make sure you pay attention to details. Like my CTO will always tell me, pay attention to details. Pay attention to details. Everybody, let's pay attention to details. It's important we pay attention to details. So here now, CN is equal, which is the certificate name is equals to yaf.com. So if I want to add DNS now, I can add more DNS like media.yaf.com. Then I will add another one, security.yaf.com. I will add another one, which other one will I add again? Oh, which other unit? ictg.yaf.com.
Choir.
So choir, choir.yaf.com. Then
Breakthrough.
protocol.yaf. Aha, breakthrough. Now when I get church, oh, no wahala.
Medical
Breakthrough.
unit.
Oh, breakthrough.ef.com. Which other unit again? Am I forgetting
Medical.
to? Okay, medical.
Medical.
Okay, medical. Let me add medical before tomorrow. If I'm not feeling fine, they will say they will not give me
Sanctuary.
drugs. Which one again am I not adding?
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary is very important to Papa's unit. I beg you, Muna help. Oh. So which one did
Traffic.
I not add? Traffic, yeah. Traffic.yaf.com. Which other one again?
Crowd
CCU.
control.
CCU dot
Utility.
yaf. Oh,
Utility.
utility dot yaf.com. Then which other one again? Which one did I not add? Somebody should help me. That's all
It's
right.
okay.
So okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't want anybody to see me tomorrow in church and say, did you not add my units? Eh? I beg you. Some people can be very funny like that. Like they can just like, you can be posting some people's name because they are deacon and you did not add deacon. They'll be like, why did you not add deacon to my name? Don't you know I'm a deacon? So here now I'm adding all the units. Somebody say it's okay. Deacon board is not there. Somebody can be in Deacon's board here now. The person will say,
Okay.
add Deacon's board. Okay. Oh. So I'll just click on create.
What about
Let's see.
ushering it? What about ushering it?
Aha. You see, Abby. Ushering. I did not add ushering. Well, Mukuna no vex. So this is it. So I've been able to add a certificate now. So that's how to add certificate to your key vault. So if we come down to settings, so you see those settings you were trying to specify, access configuration. From here now, you can add configuration access. You can say, okay, you want to use Azure role-based access control, or you want to use Vault access policy. So basically, as it is, it's good to use role-based access control. We can see the way we use role-based access control, whereby you can give people roles by job functions. Like, okay, this person is going to be a key vault contributor. This person is going to be a key vault administrator. This person is going to be a crypto, blah, blah, blah. You can see those things. That's role-based access control. So you can go for an interview. I've been asked this question before. What is role-based access control? Somebody have asked me. So you can go and read up on what is role-based access control. Just go and read up about it. So you can come to networking here. So for networking now, remember, we specified allow public access from all network. Like I said earlier, if you are using allow public access from all network, you are increasing your attack surface. It's more or less like a soldier that went to war. You expose all your body. You did not wear anything, just like you did not wear anything, you just expose yourself in the war front. It's very risky. If it's not God that sent you to that battle, the person must be defeated. Because if it's God that sent you, even if you like just go anyhow, nothing will happen to you because God is fighting for you. But if it's not God that sent you to that kind of battle and you expose yourself, everything is gone. No. So in this case, it's more or less like if you say from all public access, you are exposing your life, your entire key, you are exposing it to every network in the internet, which is not good. Nobody will advise anybody to do that. It's better you allow public access from specific virtual network. It's better. Virtual network now is more or less like, let me say, for instance, let me use an office. Let me use YAF as an example. YAF Secretariat is in Ota. It's in Kenaland. YAF Secretariat is in Kenaland. I can say, okay, for anybody to have access to the YAF president or the YAF senior pastor, the person must be in YAF secretariat. So what I'm trying to say is that the person must be within the environment before you can see the YAF president. But if I now say, okay, the YAF president to be accessed over the whole platforms, what I'm saying is that you can access him from phone call, you can access him from WhatsApp, you can access him from everywhere, which means that from anywhere attack can come. And we have to be security conscious, even in church. We're not supposed to expose ourselves to everything. Because you're a pastor doesn't mean that you just release yourself like that. We have to put security in mind also. So in that case, it is not best practice to say allow public access from all networks. It's not good. It's not good. So, but this is just a lab, and I'm trying to explain. So for this case, I'll just click on, I'm not making any change here. So I'll just say, okay. So let's go back to our resource. So we are here, Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Like I explained, Microsoft Defender for Cloud, I will do a very big section on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. But in this training, I want us to finish with the fundamentals. I'm following a learning path. Once I finish with the fundamentals, then I will now be teaching us some other things, Me too, I'm also trying to grow myself also in the training world, and also to at least help my people in the ministry. As I help people, I help myself because I'm helping myself also. It's not as if I even need this more than you people. So that's the truth. So the Microsoft Defender for Cloud now, if you enable it, you can use it to view recommendations, but enabling Microsoft Defender for Cloud to secure your key vault is money. You will pay for it. You will pay for it. So that is why most cloud services, you have to be intentional about it because you will pay for it. So this is the key vault URL. So if a developer now wants to have access to any of the key here, either maybe the person wants to have access to this YAF media key or YAF media secret or YAF certificate. If the person wants to have access to any of this, it's from here that the person can have access. Once you give the person this URL, so if for instance now you are in a cross-functional team where you have different team where you are reporting to, you're a cloud engineer, you are working with a DevOps engineer, you are working with a DevSecOps engineer, you are working with a sysadmin, you are working with what are they calling the other role again? IT support. You are working with all these people. That means as the cloud engineer now, you are in the middle. you will give them this vault URL. Once you give them this vault URL, is this vault URL that they will use to have access to either the certificate, the secret, or the key. So I'm talking since vault URL, this is it. This is the vault URL. Once you give them this vault URL, once they add it to the application, they can now specify the key or the secret that they want to access. That's just an example of how to use vault URL. So you can see the resource ID. You may not really need all these things, but you can see here now that you can enable purge protection. But once you enable it, you cannot disable it. And 90 days is the highest. You can see that this 90 days, you can't change it. Maybe you didn't ask your CTO before you specify 90 days. You just put it. Your CTO now call you. Koredele, Michael, why will you create a key vault and you say 90 days? Eh? Why did you not say 30 days? Maybe you are working with a woman. You know, women, they know how to express their anger. If it's men, they can just let them just relax. But women, immediately, Koredele, what did you do? Why will you do so? What happened? You will now tell her that, I specified 90 days, I forgot. In that case, you can't change it. What it means is that you have to delete and start again. That is why if you are creating resources, ensure you follow up with your manager, your CTO, all of them, the project people, they should be aware. Okay, this is what I'm doing. Because in the cloud engineering space, it's not as if it's hard. Let me not lie. The most important thing is just for you to know what you want to do. Like what we are doing here now, we are learning how to create resources in Microsoft Azure. Tomorrow now, you can get a gig. They can say, okay, want to do this, want to do this, want to do this. You can just go and make research. Once you make research, you'll be able to do it. Even me, if I have a gig, I make research. It's not everything that I'm doing from my head. Let's be realistic. So somebody should not be looking at me like, this guy is doing a lot. No, I make research too. And as I'm talking to you, Seth, I'm following a guide. You understand? It's not as if I'm just teaching you people, and I'm going to even drop the guide on the chat so that later you can always follow. But it's not as if everything I'm doing here is in the guide, but the guide can just help you to know what I've done so that in case you have a project, you can always relate to it. So I'll be dropping it on the chat so that we can always follow up, with it. So, yeah. So we'll soon be ending our class because I know that we will soon be going for WSF. There are some people that their own WSF doesn't start by 5. Their own doesn't start by 5.
Attendance link.
So I've dropped the link. What are they calling it? I've dropped the steps to on the chat. So later somebody can always go and create it. So the attendance list is on the chat. It's on the chat. Check the chat, you see it. So
okay,
we are going to be reviewing. So does anybody have any question before I go?
I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir, I have a question, teacher.
Yeah, ask your question. Joy, welcome back. I've not seen you for a very long time now.
Yeah,
Ask,
I've been.
ask
Yes,
your
sir.
question.
All right, sir. I wanted to ask that when you enable purge protection, what does
Yeah,
it like? What's the importance of enabling purge protection? And then
yeah,
secondly, if it's a public access, how then do you now protect yourself? Because you said that when you click public access, then like you're exposing yourself to hackers to easily hack your keyboard. And secondly, you said do you say that keys are like password or something? That's
yeah,
my
yeah,
question.
yeah. Yeah, keys now are like public keys. Public key. So with private key, if somebody have that private key, the person can have access to your certificate and the person can do and undo with the key. So that's a public key. Let me just answer that. So keys are like keys. Secrets are passwords. So secrets are passwords value that you can specify. Why keys are public keys from certificate are private keys from certificate. So your question now, when you talk about purge protection. So what does purge protection do? If you enable purge protection, it enforces a mandatory retention period for deleted vault and vault object. So if you enable purge protection, now it means that, for instance, there are some wicked people that if you delete something from your system, it goes to recycle bin. If you go to recycle bin and delete it, it is gone forever. But there are some wicked people that they will delete a key. It will go to recycle bin on the key vault. They will go and delete it from there. So what port protection do is that it enforces a mandatory retention period for a deleted vault. Even if somebody go there and delete it, no go delete. You understand? It will not delete. It will tell you that you should go and first of all disable port protection first. Once you disable it, you'll be able to delete. Like here now, disable allow key vault and object to be purged during retention period means that even if the retention period is 90 days, I can still delete it. But in a production environment, I will enable it. But you know that because it's a lab, if I enable purge protection now, that means I won't be able to delete this key vault within 90 days, which it will consume my money. Sure, you understand? Are you getting it, Joy?
Yes, I'm getting it.
Okay.
I wanted to ask another thing. Why
Yeah.
did you not enable port protection when you gave your why did you enable?
No, I did not
Was it
enable
because you're going
it.
to delete it? Was it
Yeah,
because
I
you're
did not
going to
enable.
delete it immediately?
I disabled it because I'm going to delete it immediately. Because if I enable it, that means I have to wait until 90 days before I'll be able to delete it. Because
Oh,
sure you understand. So
okay.
for the last question you asked for network, you were like, since I created it as I made it public access to the internet. Yes, if you are creating your resources and you make it public access from all network, it means you are increasing the attack surface. You are allowing more attack surface. That means from everywhere, people can have access. But because it's a lab, that is why I just allow public access. But in a modern work environment, you specify specific network. So if I say specific network now, it means that it's no more public. It's only from specific network or IP address that will be able to access it. I don't know if that answers your question, Joy.
Yes, but I'm like, okay, since you speak on public access, yeah, and you kind of you say you kind of expose you more to more tax force. I think I did get that. So
Yeah.
then how do you now like protect yourself? Cases where you now like get attacked from
Okay.
hackers.
If I
And then
allow
when do you now use public access? Like when now
No,
use public access?
I like the question you're asking. So for public access now, there are reasons that can make you use public access. You can use public access maybe because what you want to have access to the key vault, it needs public access, and you can't maybe give it access over the private network. Then you can use public access. Then if you're using public access, that means you need to use Microsoft Defender for Cloud to protect this key vault. So that even if it's exposed to the public, Microsoft Defender for Cloud can help you protect the key vault from potential attack. And you can also use firewall. You can use Azure Firewall in such a way that even if what are they calling it, request is coming from the public. So the firewall will be in the middle to protect your key vault. Okay, if this traffic is coming from public access, okay, scrutinize it. It should be coming from this particular destination. If it's not coming from this destination, don't allow it. So even in terms of public access, you can specify specific parts of the public that you want to have access to your network or your resource. So that's just it. So even if it's public, you can still secure it using Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Azure Firewall, as the case may be. Do you have any other question, Joy?
Okay. So that means it's actually really better if you just use private network because when you use public network, it's like an additional extra cost. Abi?
Yes, yes,
Am I right?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
An additional extra cost. Like you need to spend
uh,
money on firewall and some other things.
okay.
But if you use
Uh,
specified network, you won't spend much.
uh, okay. All right. Thank you so
Please,
much, sir.
to
Yeah.
become a cloud engineer, are we going to? Can we use a personal email to create a virtual account, a vault account, or we should create the account in the company's name, or the company already have an account
Okay.
that can
This
to that make use
this
of?
this is it. This is it. If you want to create a resource in Azure, you need what we call a subscription. And Microsoft is not allowing our Naira card. But very soon, by God's grace, I believe with time, Microsoft is going to start allowing our MasterCard. So, but for now, you can leverage on the Microsoft Sandbox we have in Azure. So you can use those sandbox to create your resources. You just log in, like the one I showed you other time to create storage account. You can use it to create your resource. Let me check if there's a sandbox for for Key Vault. So Microsoft will not just leave you like that. They will always give you access to get resources. So let me check Azure Fundamentals. Let me see if there is a sandbox that you can use. So Precious, you can ask your question while I check
Okay.
for a sandbox.
Okay. There's another thing I want to know. Does it require certificate? Working as a cloud engineer or working as a cloud security support. So which one that is actually mainly demands that they have a high demand in markets between the two?
A cloud engineer or a cloud security engineer? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Then which one? Yes. Which one is cloud security support?
Okay. So the two of them work hand in hand. You can't be a cloud security engineer without knowing cloud, without understanding how cloud resources work.
Okay.
So that's just it. You need to know how those resources work before you be able to secure them. So we have some
Okay.
exercise here that you can use. Like when we get to pricing calculator, because we'll talk about pricing calculator, we'll talk about the resource lock policy. I will explain that. I don't want to talk about it now because if I talk about it, it will be as if I'm overloading us with too much information today. So let me check because I don't want to be loading us with too much information. So I want everything to be one step at a time so that it should
Okay,
not
sir.
look like I'm overburdening you people, but both of them work hand in hand. If a company wants to employ a cloud security engineer, automatically they are saying that they want to employ a cloud engineer. I saw a job role recently, UK. So they were like, they need somebody that understand cloud security, and they need somebody that know how to create resources in Azure, manage role-based access control, which is identity and access management, just like I explained today. Do you know how much? It's a very like as it is now like that. Foreign companies pay very well, we know. So that's why we need to sharpen our belt. We need to work hard because with time, the market can be open that even those foreign countries, they will want to be taking Nigerians to their country, which we know by God's grace, God is going to help us. That door
Amen.
is going to be open. So once that door is
Amen.
open, once you have your skills and all, believe me, you will go and they pay well, oh. They pay well for simple job. You can go there, like I told you, that lady. Her work is just to reset password, and she's earning huge amounts of money. So let's work hard. Let's work hard. Your work could just be monitoring their vaults, and they will pay you like just upload certificate. You see this thing we did here? Upload certificate, upload their secret. That's all. That's what some people do. You understand? So it's just grace. So you can't separate the two. So any other question? I think,
Good afternoon, sir.
yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you for the lecture, sir. I actually came in late. I just want to know what's the essence of creating the certificate, the key, and the secret, sir.
Okay, this is it. Let me go back to the section so that I can do a recap of what we just talked about. So here now, we are creating a key vault. So a key vault, like the name implies, key vault, where you can store key. We know that key is a very important something. The key to your house, if somebody have the key to your house, that means the person have access to everything in your house. The person can come and see everything that is in your house. So in the cloud infrastructure, a key vault is used to store secrets. When we say secrets, passwords, password are example of secret. We can see something that looks like key here. We know that we can see something that looks like padlock is a secret. Then this key is more or less like your certificate, your private key. If somebody have your public key, we can see from Microsoft website here, from Microsoft certificate, their public key is in the internet. So public key, you can't do anything with it. But you see private key. If somebody have access to the private key of this particular certificate, it means that the person will have access to the credentials of the people that are signing in to this website. Because certificates serve as a protection. It serves as a man in the middle to protect you that is logging into a website and to protect your credentials when logging into a website. That's a certificate. So as it is now, if there's no certificate, that means you can be exposed to man in the middle attack. Man in the middle is somebody that, as you're trying to sign in, the person is in the middle, is seeing what is happening, is getting your credential. But with certificate, it creates that embargo, it creates that security to prevent you from having access, to prevent a bad actor or an oppressor from having access to your passwords or so. So certificate now is maybe, for instance, you have your certificate that you use for your application. An example of application that use certificate is, what do they call it? What do they call this application again? Point to site VPN. So if you're using point to site VPN and you are using Azure as your connectivity method or VPN, it means that you need to be creating child and root certificates. After 2 years or 1 year, the certificate can expire. You need to renew. But if you use Azure Key Vault here for certificate management, what it means is that as the certificate is expiring, it will automatically renew. You don't need to be stressing your engineer or your certificate don't expire, go and renew it. So Key Vault is used to store keys, secrets, and certificates all together. So that's just what we created here. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So what's the purpose of that? You are creating some DNS and this thing. Is it
Okay,
same
DNS.
minister?
DNS now is for certificates. You know that each certificate now, maybe you go to azure.com. If I click on this certificate here, let me click on it, let's see something. If I come to connection is secure and I click on this website, so this is an example of a certificate. If I come to details and I come down, you will see DNS. So I want us to see Microsoft DNS here. So let me move this guy somewhere else so that it won't distract me. So let's come here. So subject. So you see the value. So serial number. Let me just check them one after the other to find the DNS because I saw it the other time. Certificate templates, subject key ID, enhance subject alternative names. So in the subject alternative names here, that is where you see DNS. You can see this certificate now. You can see portal.azure.com. This DNS name means that if you want to access any website that is using this certificate, if you go to portal.azure.com, it will be secured. If you go to anything, when you say asterisk, it means it's a white card. If you want to go to, let's say, bing.portal.azure.com, it will be secured. If you want to go to papa.portal.azure.com, it will be secured. Same with this one. It's asterisk. If you want to go to anything.portal.azure.net, it will be secured. Then device management.microsoft, all these are DNS. Just like the way we're adding YAF, media.yaf.com, this.this.com, this.this.com, they are DNS name, meaning that that certificate now, if I install it on the YAF application, if you want to access it using media.yaf.com or medical.yaf.com, it will be secured. Those are the DNS names that you can associate to the certificate. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes. Does this certificate is it the same thing like when someone is hosting a website on a server?
Yeah, if you are hosting a website on a server, you know that for the website to be secured, you need to create a certificate, either a self-signed certificate or a third-party certificate. Yes, that's it. It's the same.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Please,
Yeah,
how
good
do we
afternoon.
create fire? No. on Azure portal.
How do you do what?
I mean, how do we create a firewall? Or the firewall is there automatically when we create an account on Azure portal.
The firewall is not there automatically. You have to create it. So you have to create the firewall. So even if after creating it, if you want to enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you need to go to the settings. Then from the settings, you click on Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Then once you click on Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you come here. You can see try it for the first 30 days. It means that you are trying it for the first 30 days. From here now, we can see the features of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. It discovers threats at early stage to quickly respond and prevent future attack. Upgrade your Microsoft Defender for Cloud plan for security, including just-in-time access, adaptive application control. So if I enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud, these are the things that we enjoy. But it's money. It's money. So that's why I did not enable it. So basically, after creating your resource, after 30 days, they will start billing me. You understand? They will start billing me from my subscription. Sure, you get.
So does creating certificates, these key vaults, do they bill you for it?
Okay.
Yeah.
If we
They will only
our
yeah,
subscription to subscribe. Now,
yeah.
before
Go ahead.
So if we use our money now to subscribe for all these facilities before getting hired by a company, now how are we going to be using it personally, or we should wait until we get hired before we can subscribe to all these facilities? Which
That
one
is
is
why
advisable, sir?
what is advisable is keep reading. Like I always tell you, keep reading. Even me, before I got a job, I studied. I was studying, I was reading. And when I saw a job opportunity, I entered. Like that job I posted, tech expert. After this training and all, if you want to work in tech expert, you can work in tech expert, where you will be supporting customers. You'll be seeing real life issue. Then tech expert will give you access to subscription, just like I have right now. Because me now, this is my subscription. It's not as if I'm paying for it. It's just given to me by Microsoft as a privilege because I'm a Microsoft trainer. So they just give me to be using it by privilege, not by right. Or maybe because I'm too intelligent or so. They just give me because, okay, you are a trainer. Why not use it? So at least if you are training people. So my advice for you is that, like, go to Microsoft Lane. In Microsoft Lane, you can see a lot of exercises here. You see this exercise. Any exercise you see, click on it. There's always a sandbox. With that sandbox, you can practice. You can do anything you want to do. Because even if you use your card, it's only 30 days that Microsoft will give you for free. And after that 30 days, you can't use it again. And you can't say your learning will end within 30 days. So that's why you need to continue reading. Continue reading. Continuous reading. Everybody, let's be reading. Me, I'm also reading. I'm trying to build myself also. So everything is in Microsoft Learn. Let me share this link with us. So that's it. Any other question before we go?
Sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Sir,
Good afternoon.
for this?
What did you say?
Would there be a record, like a recording for
Why
this
not?
video?
Why not? Why not? I'll share it to the
Or you-
WhatsApp group. I'll share it to the WhatsApp group.
Okay, sir.
Good
Thank you.
afternoon,
Yeah, good afternoon.
sir. Once again, sir,
Yeah.
thank you very much for how far you've taught us and all that. But I have issue. I opened this Microsoft account with my personal account, with my Gmail account. I don't know if I am going to be working with it, or I have to open another account that is what's it called? Is it something